if you want to. So you're not stuck over in the corner. Nobody puts baby in the corner. Baby brother, baby attorney, whoever it is. Baby IT director, nobody.
She had a doctor's appointment today and she wasn't sure.
Thank you. You want me to turn it off when it's time to turn it off? After public comment or just wait?
I don't know what it was.
Oh, gotcha. I gotcha.
Fine with me.
Okay.
It's like Thanksgiving, they just jump up the road and don't offer to help with the dishes.
I wish that guy sitting there said, I wish he'd have gone. Where did you hear that?
I did. Just
He's still out of the way. You're going to find out in just a minute.
is that why they put you in there?
Harnett County Commissioners meeting is back in session. Before we have the 30 minutes of informal comments allowing 3 minutes each, I'd like to read part of the bylaws of the Harnett County Board of Commissioners. Public comment periods be limited to a maximum of 30 minutes, and each person desiring to speak shall have a maximum of 3 minutes. The speaker shall not speak more than once during the same public comment period. Speaker shall address the board from the podium and begin their remarks by stating their name and residential address. The public comment is not intended to require the board to answer any impromptu questions. The board shall not entertain questions from the audience. Discussion between the speakers and members of the audience shall be prohibited. Speakers shall maintain proper decorum and shall make their comments in a civil manner. Personal attacks and use of obscene and profane language are prohibited. Speakers' comments shall be limited to subjects within the board's jurisdiction. So now I'd like to open for public comments. If you are here for a comment on any of the hearings, this is not the time. You wait for that comment when the hearing is called, please. So now we open the floor. Anybody would like to address the board?
My name is Jerry Rivas, 364 Twin Ponds Road, Sanford. By some mysterious decision of the postal people. I'm a little bit sad that Commissioner Springle and Miller are leaving. I'm not going to have them to kick around anymore. Gripe at. However, Commissioner-elect Matt Nickel did screw up several months ago and gave me his phone number. So there is that. I'm kind of disappointed that Sheriff Coates left. I would like to commend him for his Citizens Academy and the Citizens on Patrol initiative. I would also, on that same subject, to remind everybody, you don't need to be in a specially marked car. If you see a crime, report it right away. And if it's a serious crime and you are able, stop it. And if you see a law enforcement officer struggling with somebody, please get out and help that law enforcement officer. The main reason I've come to address a commission tonight is prior to this weekend, I was made aware that the Sheriff's Department has, under the advice of the Harnett County Health and Human Services Department, suspended the processing of concealed carry applicants. Now, under North Carolina General Statute 14-414.15, he has a mandate from the state to process these, and not processing these is in effect denying the concealed carry permit. And if he denies the permit for any reason, he has to notify that person within 45 days in writing. I have been in contact with the National Rifle Association's legislative department and my own personal attorney, and they both assure me that suspending this is illegal. You can't do it. You just cannot suspend a state law when you get a mandate. And the thing is, part of it smacks of hypocrisy. I mean, it's in the interest of safety. Well, don't they still fingerprint the criminals that they arrest? There's one man in the office who does fingerprinting on a thing that looks like a printer. It's electronic. If I wear a mask when I go in there and he wears a mask, if you believe all the propaganda we get from the Department of Health, everybody's protected. The ladies who hand out the applications, for heaven's sakes, they're behind a glass panel. So if Sergeant Coupee is too scared of catching the China flu, I volunteer to go to the Sheriff's Department 40 hours a week. And by God, I'll do the fingerprinting. And I won't even charge anybody anything. Just have a coffee pot going. And ultimately, this violates the Constitution of the United States of America. I have a Second Amendment that guarantees me the right to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. So, thank you very much.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Rose Teniente of 179 Tilden Howington Drive in Lillington. So I am here to express my gratitude for you guys adopting the resolution affirming equal protection for everyone in the county. And with that, it said that you were willing to stand firmly against racial injustice and inequality. Months ago, I compiled pages of data on racial disparities in the county, including that Black families earn $21,000 less per year on the median than white families, that Black infants died at 2.4 times the rate of white infants in the county last year, and I have not seen any action, like actual hard action from this commission looking to address those disparities. And that does not demonstrate a commitment to standing against inequality. That is an inequality. That is an injustice when that is happening. And so I just want to request that you stand by that resolution that you all passed and look at ways to reduce the disparities in our community. Poverty leads to crime. Unemployment leads to crime. We have, one Black department head out of how many departments do we have in the county? How many departments or department head positions? At least 30, right?
25.
25? But Black folks make up 22% of our population, and Hispanic folks make up 13% of our population. Out of all of our elected official positions in the county, including municipal, that's about like 50, and only 5 seats are held by Black folks, and I don't think a single seat is held by a Hispanic person. And so when you do not have people in leadership and people in positions of power that reflect your community, you don't have that insight into the issues that all of your, all of the different communities are facing. And so you're not able to make informed decisions. You don't have folks explaining like the nuances of these issues. And so I want to see some action. I would really appreciate if you could establish a racial equity task force within the Harnett County government. You have experts. You have experts within public health. You have experts within the county manager's office. You have experts within social services. You have that there. You can allocate resources to, hiring more folks of color to come and work with you. There is so much that can be done. Establish a racial equity plan, establish a racial equity dashboard so you can show like the community, your baseline, and then what you're doing to make improvements in those areas. When I have a commissioner telling me that he does not know how hiring more Black department heads will solve issues within the county, that is problematic. And I just cannot accept that, and I know that you all care about Harnett County, and so I would just ask you to demonstrate that you really do care about all citizens of Harnett County. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else for public comment? Okay.
Good evening, Commissioners.
Would you repeat that, please? repeat your comments,
Can everybody
please?
hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
I apologize. Good evening. Hello. My name is Manny Diaz. I'm the regional organizer with Democracy North Carolina. I'm located at 111 Lamont Street in Fayetteville, but I work consistently in Harnett County. Before I go any further, I'd just like to thank the Harnett County Board of Commissioners for assuring that people can join this meeting remotely. I'm feeling a little bit under the weather myself, so I appreciate this because assuring that people can get this information while remaining safe is very important. So thank you. I've had the privilege of working with many individuals and different organizations in Harnett County throughout 2020. Through our work and countless conversations, we've discovered that there are many disparities across racial lines in the community. These disparities can be found within education, health, and economic development, to name a few. Therefore, I respectfully urge the Board of Commissioners to keep this in mind going forward, for we see it as a pressing matter. The hardworking people of Harnett County are being affected by issues that can be resolved through equitable initiatives, but actions must be clear and directed at the root causes of those racial disparities. I heard someone in the audience mention the creation of a racial equity task force, and I believe that's a fantastic idea for a more equitable Harnett County. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else?
Elizabeth Crudup, 234 Hamilton Road, Bun Level. Just coming to address what we went through or what we heard at the meeting where right after we had presented the data on racial inequities in Harnett County, where the commissioners professed their ire at what we had presented. I want to just identify what it is you just went through there. That is a term called white fragility. This is referring to the defensive moves that white people make when challenged with racial issues. The white fragility is characterized by emotions such as anger, fear, and guilt, and by behaviors including becoming argumentative and silence. These behaviors tend to function to reinstate white racial equilibrium and prevent any meaningful cross-racial dialogue. In this in-depth exploration of the book White Fragility by Robin DiAngelo, she explores this phenomenon of every time someone comes and says there are racial disparities, many white people take it as they're being called racist. They're not. They're saying there are racial disparities in contact with the public, in services provided to the public. And we are going to hope that you will each get a copy of that book, because this is an issue that has long been ignored in Harnett, and when we come to you with comments and input, we're not attacking you personally. We're just letting you know of the state of things in Harnett and how they need, and we will suggest solutions, but please, you need to explore how these have been addressed in other counties, whether it's through racial equity training or desensitization around the term of racism and racial disparities within the system. Because systemic racism is different from individual racism. And because we use the term racist doesn't mean, or racial, the word racism and racial inequalities, we're not attacking you personally. We're addressing what is in the system. If you feel you're a racist at the end of that conversation, that's between you and your God. But we are not calling you racist. If you feel you're one, that is okay. That is on you. And you will handle it accordingly. All we're handling is the system that deals with the public, is funded by everybody's tax dollars to make sure that it serves and protects everybody equally. That's what I have to say on this topic. I will see you later on the other topic. Have a nice day.
Thank you. Anyone else have a public comment? Have anybody on the telephone? Anything in writing? Okay, Seeing no one come forward, I close the public comments. Okay, appointments. Do we have any appointments?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. We've got several tonight. The Adult Care Home Advisory Committee, Kenesha McCoy is interested in being appointed to that committee, and her application was in our packet. Harnett County Industrial Facility and Pollution Control Financing Authority, there are 7 vacancies. In this, the meetings are scheduled those times when the county has applications or requests to consider industrial review. Juvenile Crime Prevention Council, request reappointment of Shavonda Chance, Lynn Herring, Frankie Powers, Adrian Standish, and Kimberly Whitted. Mid-Carolina Aging Advisory Council, Pat Dutton and Lillian Mae Bailey would like to be reappointed to that. And that's going to do us for this time.
Second the motion.
Have a vote?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Public hearing for proposed amended Harnett Regional Water and Sewer Ordinance. Steve Ward.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. In June of this year, the General Assembly changed Statute 162A 2-13, which changed the way that utilities in North Carolina collect water and sewer system development fees. That is now going to be done at the building permit stage. So that burden no longer falls on developers. Actually, when the builder pulls the building permit at central permitting here in the county, that fee will be collected at that time. That goes into effect in January. So we have to amend our ordinance on how we collect these fees or when we collect them as a result. So that's what this text amendment is about. We're also asking the board, because the collection of these fees drastically changes when the county will be paid for capacity in our water and sewer plants. The way this used to work is we used to collect the fees up front at the time that we allocated the capacity to development. And I also want to say this is just for land subdivision development. This does not affect commercial or industrial development. Nothing changes in that respect about these fees being collected. So just land subdivision development. So it changes when and how the fees are collected, and it'll actually stretch out that period. For example, you could have a 100-lot subdivision. It may take 5 years to pull all the building permits and for the county to collect all the fees. So that drastically altered the timing of that equation. So we asked to also change or implement a capacity allocation section in our ordinance where we deal with setting a limit on 100-lot phases for new subdivision development, and then requiring that 50 of those lots, the building permits, be sold before we allocate an additional 100 lots of capacity. That way it keeps everything moving. We won't stop reviewing new phases of development or anything like that, so we don't see it as a really big change. It really will only affect really large developments. Most of our developments are under 100 lots now. So, but as we're seeing more and more development, especially coming down from Wake County, we really need to get control about our capacity allocation. Most towns in North Carolina and utilities already have a means of dealing with capacity allocation, so this is sort of a new step for us. It won't change a whole lot, but it'll keep a tighter rein on the way that we implement and allocate that capacity. So that's what I want the board to consider tonight. That's our recommendation, and it does require a public hearing.
Thank you, Steve.
Mm-hmm. Any questions or anything for me before that starts?
I do have one question. How is this 100-lot minimum going to affect the developer?
Basically, let's say you have 400 lots that you possibly could develop. You know, right now, there's no restriction on, you could try to do all 400 lots at once. That usually doesn't happen, Commissioner Matthews. Usually, it all just depends on what the developer thinks he can take down in so many lots. So, but let's say you wanted to do 200 lots or 250 lots, and it may take 10 years to sell those 250 lots. Once the county grants that allocation and the developer actually puts the water and sewer infrastructure in the ground, then there is no taking that capacity back. So sometimes we could get stuck with that, and really it's not finite. There's only so much capacity in the water and sewer plant, so it's kind of like a first come, first served basis. So if you dole it all out really soon based on large developments, then you have that chance of limiting development in other areas, and we see that as a fairness issue too.
Thank you.
Questions?
Good.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, I'd like to call to order a public hearing on this matter. If you would like to step up to the podium and okay, now this is about the hearing on this water.
Uh-huh,
Okay, thank you.
right there, the water
Yes, ma'am, give me that.
capacity. It's amazing that lots of new developments are being issued these permits. There are a lot of us who live outside of the Lillington town limits and in other unincorporated parts of the county. We'd really love to see the capacity being increased on our side. Let us get sewer lines before you go issuing it to brand new developments. It's amazing that you'll encourage a new development, but you will not update what you already have. So give us our water and sewer lines, then go hand the capacity out to all these new developments.
I'm not sure you understand what's taking place here. Is the developer is the one that's putting the water and sewer lines in, and the capacity is what we're trying to deal with, not.
That's what I'm addressing. I'm addressing the reservation of capacity.
It's not the county is not putting the water and sewer lines in.
Okay, it's the reservation of capacity
Right.
for new homes being put in. Did I get it?
Yes.
Okay, so I'm saying, please reserve capacity in your planning. Please reserve capacity to include those homes that are already built and are currently just on septic. So God willing, at one time, somebody will have pity and go and find the funding to make sure that those who are already established can get county
Right.
sewer lines, and the capacity will already be reserved to accommodate those instead of just reserving it for the brand new developments. Did I get it?
Yes.
Okay then.
Would you give your name and address for the record, please?
Elizabeth Crudup, 234 Hamilton Road.
Thank you. Anyone else? Does anybody move? I'd like to close the public hearing on this matter. Okay, what are the wishes of the board?
Make a motion that we approve the amended Harnett County Regional Water and Sewer Ordinance.
Here a second?
Second.
I'd like to get a vote. Commissioner Matthews?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. A public hearing regarding Harnett County's interest in seeking funds from the state's Small Cities Community Development Block Grant Program.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman.
Good evening.
Board members, thank you very much for having us. As we're requesting for the board to hold a public hearing for the application for CDBG block grant coronavirus. However, I do have to mention before we go into the public hearing that we learned as of late Thursday, Department of Commerce stopped taking applications. So what we're hoping to do is hold the public hearing and ask for you to approve a resolution for us to apply for it, put it on the shelf, and be ready for the next round. They have mentioned earlier on there would be probably a next round, so we're anticipating that, and so we're thinking that the application, once approved, we might be funded. Is there any questions on that?
So,
Okay, sir. So it is for it's actually for $900,000 application. However, 810 of the dollars is for service delivery. And so the program is for, what the application we're trying for is for utility, heating, fuel, water bills, rent, mortgage payments, assistance that we'll pay directly to the vendors. And as we previously said, there's still a lot out there that doesn't have this available to them.
one question, you said that we've missed the first round we missed the first round?
We missed it.
Okay. And then, if I heard you correctly, you said that we're going to go ahead and start and hope to be refunded? Did I hear that correctly, or was I?
What we want to do is have an application with all the signatures, a resolution, approved resolution.
Right.
We will submit that to our consultant that's helping us. We will have it on the shelf that once they open up the funding, we will forward that application there. So we'll be first in line, or fairly first in line.
Okay. All right. Thank you, sir.
That's a good question. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Barry.
Yes, sir.
All right, open a period of public comment on this matter. If you have a comment on this hearing, would you please step forward to the podium?
I want to give someone else a chance first.
Hi there. When did it open? When did the window open for the application? September? And we couldn't get together like an application by the deadline, or because I was listening and it sounded like there was not really a deadline. So at the other hearing,
It was first come, first served.
Yeah.
That's correct. However, during the first public hearing, we heard a lot of comments in different areas. We had a lot of phone calls, so we tried to do some coordination with a citizen type group, some local leaders that were selected that represented the community.
yeah.
And so we have a public hearing once a month, so we missed the October one, so we were planning on this one.
But other counties were able to get it together in time to apply?
Well, other counties and municipalities.
Okay. Well, and do you know, like, did the state indicate that they would be trying to reopen it? Like, or are we hoping that the feds are gonna approve more money and then that's gonna trickle down?
We believe that the state, when they were talking in general, that there was gonna be additional funds available.
Okay,
That's all we have.
thanks.
Anyone else?
That was Roseanne Taniente who just spoke, just for the record. This is Elizabeth Crudup talking now. Mr. Blevins, for real, who was this council or committee? Could you at least tell us who the members were of the committee that you pulled together? Please come say it here so we have it on public record.
Well, I hope I have my notes with me, so. All right, so I'm gonna try to remember some of them from memory. Mr. Eric Thornton, he is chairman of the Social Services Board. Mr. Tim Johnson with 5 and 2. Mr. Alvarado with the Sheriff's Department. Mr. Cheryl Raines with Lillington First Baptist. We had 2 members from our, we had Lynn Lambert, thank you very much, with Soul. We also had Kit Sanders. She was there, although she wasn't able to attend our meeting. I'm sorry? And Paul Polinsky, I'm sorry, Director of Social Services. Rick Gideon, that's right. He was on the phone with us. We also had our consultant, and I think that was all we had at that time.
Okay. knowing that law enforcement could not benefit from this grant, but you reserved for them a seat on that committee. But the grant specifies 4 areas of being able to spend it in. Support families and communities through telehealth support and other public services. This is according to the state website. Protect the most vulnerable and high-risk populations and assist small business with economic recovery and address testing and tracing and tracking trends. These were the 1, 2, 3, 4 priority issues of this grant. What you've been given, and according to the newspaper, is a handoff. This is Harnett County not wanting to deal with the issues. They put together a committee that has nothing to do with the grant specifications, and in the words of Mr. Blevins, according to the Dunn Daily Record, they will hand it to Johnson County, Johnson Lee Harnett Community Action, and they will do all the heavy lifting. In other words, the county is washing their hands of dealing with this grant. They will do all the heavy lifting. This grant specified that it will prioritize support of families and communities through telehealth. There are a lot of elderly people who would have loved to see their doctors and would have loved a lot of private practices would have loved that telehealth support. They're not going to get it. Protect the most vulnerable and high-risk populations. We still have people who are special needs populations in Harnett County who are having devastating outcomes during this COVID-19 time. I know of at least 2 deaths as of today, 2 deaths as a direct result of not being able to access services, whether it's health services or mental health services. These are people who are dead. They will no longer be here. And Harnett County, in fact, the entire special needs population who always have something done for them every year, whether it's Thanksgiving or Christmas or something yearly at the end of the year, this year will have nothing. They will have nothing. Not a Christmas card, not a little piece of ham, not a little anything. They will have nothing because they don't have the funding to be able to have an event or a situation that will be COVID safe and appropriate for that population. What the county is suggesting the funds be used for has already been double funded. No, make that triple funded, because there's the regular yearly funding through the LEHA, the LEAP programs, I don't know how they spell it, but the LEAP program. Then you have the HOPE grant, which the governor announced. Then you have another program, which came on the federal level. So this paying of light bills and all that has been triple funded already. Okay, and then we have the small businesses, and I think the grant specifically said they were interested in micro enterprises of 5 employees or less. They wanted this grant money to go towards those type of situations to help them during these tough economic times brought about by COVID. This county is saying there is 0, and I think for public record, I know if they will check, there should be a couple of emails from private business owners who would have loved the opportunity to know about this grant, who would have loved the opportunity to serve on that super committee, secret committee meetings where the people who have nothing to do with this grant get to make the decisions about it, you know? This is just laziness, and this is just totally trying to hoodwink and bamboozle, and it's a great disservice to the citizens of Harnett County. This was a great opportunity for innovation, technology, supporting of small businesses, but instead you want someone else to do the heavy lifting. Citizens of Harnett are just not worth it. Go and give it to a triple funded organization, and leave the special needs populations with nothing. Leave the small and micro businesses in Harnett with nothing. This is not the businesses could have taken advantage of the other business help that came. That is why the grant specified the type of business it would address. You know, this is not the Paycheck Protection Program or anything like that. This is micro enterprises. And the county is saying, forget y'all. We just don't feel like dealing with it. Shame on y'all. I really urge you to vote no on this particular use. And number 2, $29 million worth of request grants, at least $29 million worth of requests were able to be put together and go in a timely manner. Mr. Blevins, we offered him all kinds of support. He said there's no grant writer. You guys are paying this consultant guy $90,000. to get your grant in late for purposes that do not serve the best interest of Harnett County. $90,000. You're going to give it to him. But hey, what do I know, right?
Thank you, ma'am. Anyone else? I'd like to close that portion of the public comments about the hearing. The wishes of the board.
Make a motion, we approve the application for the Small City Community Development Block Grant Program.
Here a second. I'd like to vote. Commissioner Matthews?
Aye.
Commissioner Bill?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, public hearing to allow citizens an opportunity to comment on transportation needs on the proposed 5311, 5399 Community Transportation Program application. Mayor Blevins? Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, board members. This is an annual requirement to have a public hearing for next year's budget planned for fiscal year 22 transportation. As you should have seen in your package that we're applying for a total of $574,966, of which that $332,966 is administration, and capital vehicles is $242,000. The difference this year coming up is that the state no longer is going to have a match, and so the county has to do the match by themselves, which is $104,994. And as required, following the public hearing, we'll take a vote, please, to do the resolution in order for us to apply for the grant dollars for next fiscal year 22.
Now, this is something we do every year, right?
It's an annual, yes. $5311 is what it's called.
Right.
And we match dollar for dollar from the state.
No. We
No,
met,
no,
114.
the grant is more than that.
Oh, the matching funds is 114.
114,000. The state no longer, they used to participate, but this year coming up, they announced they were not participating in matches.
Okay.
Any other questions? I'd like to open public hearing on this matter at this time. If you have anything to add, would you please step forward, give your name and address?
My name is Alan Longman. My address is 234 Hamilton Road. It's in Barn Level.
What was your name?
Alan Longman. I think the grant necessary for transportation is underestimate how important it is, whether it's COVID or not. The point is we need transportation in order to bring people to drug centers, to be able to have people who legally have to go and get to places because they're demanded to be at rehab places by law. A lot of the vets and stuff like that, you need proper transportation. The problem also with transportation is you're wasting huge amounts of assets sitting in Harnett County from Campbell University. You need to have internships. You need to use these people within your government, the jail systems, all sorts of systems you can. You can have it as part of their education so they become better educated. They can't stay here. One of the major reasons is transportation. They can't afford a car. They need to be able to get from place to place. They need transportation to do that. And they have said openly, one of the reasons they go elsewhere is because they have transportation to be able to work in those areas. We could use them here. It would be cheaper service. You'd be developing people to stay here that have an education and that are able to help us on our professional levels, which our growing system demands that we have as an opportunity. I don't think the state understands that that also causes drug problems to accelerate. It's not only coverage and expansion of Medicaid that's important to treat drugs. It's 95% can't get to the damn place to get treatment. And what happens is when they miss 1 or 2 appointments or are late because it's not dependable, they turn around and get dropped out. It costs people's lives. They go back to prison, all because they didn't have transportation. So transportation is a very important thing that needs to be worked out and needs to be doable to the community. And as the community grows, there's going to be more and more pressure for it to stay. And again, you have a huge asset at Campbell University to utilize those people for our government, for our residents, for businesses here. They're brilliant, they're smart, they're educated, they have to go elsewhere. We have them. Why not use them, get them into the community, let them know that there's a future here that's growing. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else? Any closed public comment on this matter? What's the pleasure of the board?
I move that we approve.
Give a second.
Second.
I'll take a vote. Commissioner Miller?
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Aye. All right, public hearing, proposed zoning, case plan 2010-200001.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
members of the board, Jay Sykes, Development Services, presenting the first case tonight, which is a rezoning application request from RA40 to RA30. The owner of the parcel is Mr. Neil Bryant Johnson, and the applicant is PN Development. This is located on Matthews Road in the Neels Creek Township. It's approximately 40.88 acres. Currently, the site is being used for agricultural purposes. Most of the property is cleared, and the intent is for residential purposes. Surrounding land uses consist of major subdivisions in the vicinity, as well as single-family homes on small lots and agricultural uses as well. Public water would be utilized. Septic would be utilized. Along Matthews Road is approximately 550 vehicle trips per day, and the site distances are good on Matthews Road and Tripp Road. Looking at the zoning district compatibility, within the area, mostly to the west of Matthews Road, is all RA30, and then within the inner side of Matthews Road, as it loops back around to NC 210 North, is RA40. And the entire land use classification is medium density residential, also within a compatibility node. Within the staff report is a couple of photos if you didn't get a chance to get out there. Looking at the evaluation, the impact to the surrounding community is reasonable, as the requested zoning district is similar in nature to the surrounding areas. The requested zoning is compatible with the land use classification of medium density residential, as well as the compact development target area. Medium density residential land uses could have lot densities that range from 2 to 5 units per acre. With the target area, also potential on water and sewer availability, that would lead to the flexibility of lot sizes due to the preservation of open space. The requested rezoning to RA30 would enhance, maintain the public health, safety, and general welfare due to the existing residential uses in the area. Since this parcel is adjacent to the same requested zoning district, it does not need to be evaluated for small-scale rezoning. Also, on November 2nd, the Harnett County Planning Board voted unanimously 4-0 to recommend approval of the application based on the land use plan as well as the residential uses. No one spoke in opposition. Therefore, staff recommends approval based off of the evaluation and the fact that it is consistent with the county's land use plan. I'm available for questions, and I believe Mr. Norris is here for the applicant.
No questions? Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir.
All right, open the floor for public hearing on this matter. If you have a comment, please step forward, give your name and address. Seeing no one move, we will close the public hearing on this. What's the motion, wishes of the board?
I make a motion that requested rezoning R30 is compatible with the Harnett County regulatory documents and would not have an unreasonable impact on the surrounding community based on the existing residential uses as well as compliance with the county's land use plan. Therefore, make a motion that this is approved.
Have a second?
Second.
I'll take a vote. Commissioner Miller?
Aye.
Commissioner Springle?
Aye.
Commissioner Matthews?
Aye.
Aye. All right, I'd like to open the public hearing, text amendment, case plan 2010-20002.
Yes, sir, thank you. These next four text amendments are all based off of the same premise of the new state requirement of 160D, but we did them in four different ones because it was four different topics. The 160D, as I think you're familiar, is a general statute requirement that meshes the enabling legislation for counties and towns on the land use side of things. Cities and towns, as you know, and then counties have different legislation and land use, police powers and so forth. So this is only dealing with the land use side of things, and from terms to definitions to all sorts of good things like that. And you could be very well seeing some other things coming down the pipe. It was, staff's been working on it. Came down, a lot of guidance from UNC School of Government. There's probably about 25, 30 pages of so forth. Luckily, I think a lot of the stuff we already do in the county. It kind of goes back to making sure your board members take oaths and stuff like that, stuff that we've been doing for a while. But this is some stuff to where, again, it's kind of like plug and play type terminology that will be the same on both sides. So this first one is a request to amend the county's Unified Development Ordinance to bring consistency with the definitions of the newly adopted 160D. Within this general statute, 160D is codifying and meshing the definition of building, dwelling, and dwelling unit. So that way, every municipality, 500 or so in the county or in the state, and then every 100 counties or so will all have the same type of definition. And dwelling unit is in the UDO twice, based off of general definitions, and then also when it goes to the natural resources side of things for compliance with FEMA flood zone stuff. That is the first one, as you see there, the definition of a building, the definition of dwelling, and dwelling unit again. And is compliant with the North Carolina general statutes, as well as the Harnett County Planning Board voted unanimously to approve. Staff is available for questions.
Questions? All right, thank you.
Yes, sir.
I'd like to call to order a public hearing on this matter. If you'd like to be heard, please step up, give your name and address. Being no one moved, we'll close the public hearing. It's the pleasure of the board in this matter.
I make a motion we adopt this text amendment for the Unified Development Ordinance.
Second.
All right, take a vote on this. Commissioner Miller?
Aye.
Mr. Sprinkle?
Aye.
Mr. Matthews?
Aye.
Johnson, yes. That matter's closed. Well, 13, public hearing, text amendment case 2010-0003, Harnett County Unified Development Ordinance.
Yes, sir. Here again, same scenario as the first amendment. This amendment clarifies the appropriate notification process as it relates to issuing notices of violations and its consistency with the newly adopted language of the 160D. Notification processes posted of the notice of violations and the remedies. In general, this allows staff to notify in various different ways. Not necessarily 100% of the notifications have to be mailed via certified mail, which can get very expensive sometimes. So that gives us other methods. And then it also allows the violation to be sent to the tenant or to the person, let's say if it's in a a rental situation, and perhaps the landowner lives out of state or something. So that way they're not 100% liable as well. So that allows for a lot of flexibility. And then in the situations where the development is approval, the revoked process would follow the same thing as well. So it's kind of, let's say if you're looking at a conditional use process or something like that, it goes to a public hearing. To revoke it, it would be the same thing as well. Again, this is for all counties and all towns. Staff recommends approval based off of the legislative update, and Planning Board also recommended approval.
When you send a certified letter, you don't send one to the renter and to the owner?
We initially, or prior to this change, it would just go to the owner. One would go to the physical address. Not that one would be, if they were different. The habitant, let's say, that they would get just a regular mail, and then the certified would go to the owner. So now we could do either one. We could post it, or can make a site visit.
Okay. Any questions from the board? No, thank you. All right, this time I'd like to open a public hearing on this matter. If you'd like to address the board, please step forward, give your name and address. Seeing no one move, I'd like to close the public hearing. What's the pleasure of the board?
Make a motion we approve this text amendment.
We have a second?
Second.
I need a vote on the matter, Commissioner Miller.
Aye.
Aye.
Tang-tungled.
Public hearing number 14.
Yes, sir. These next two are kind of, as I mentioned, a plug and play. It's changing a number and a term. This one is looking at the entire ordinance and literally just finding everywhere where it's referenced the general statute of 153A. It's changing it to the new general statute reference of 160D. It was shown in your staff report as kind of a more of a chart situation, if you will. Because there was obviously lots of references, just a bit of redundant, but also a bit of to notice certain regulations that are compliant with the state stuff versus just county regulations. So staff recommends approval based off of the general statute requirements, and Planning Board voted unanimously to recommend approval for this one. Planning Board actually combined the two for that, but that's just an FYI on that one, but no one spoke in opposition to combine the two. All right. Staff is available if you have any questions or anything.
Questions from the board? All right. Open the public hearing. Anybody would like to speak on this matter, please step forward, give your name and address. Seeing no one move, we'll close the public hearing. It's the pleasure of the board on this matter.
Make a motion we approve the text amendment.
Second.
The vote on this, Commissioner Miller?
Aye.
Commissioner Sprinkle?
Aye.
Commissioner Matthews?
Aye.
Johnson, yes.
All right, yes, sir. And my final item tonight is Plan 2010-005, also 160D, where it finds every item that's listed in the ordinance as conditional use permit, and it's changing it to just special use permit. For some reason, it's still the same concept. It's still the same quasi-judicial process through the Board of Adjustment. They just call it either a special use versus conditions. Either way, the board can still place conditions if they choose to. Again, referenced various places within the ordinance, so therefore it was listed in the chart format. Staff recommends approval based off of the general statute changes, and Planning Board recommended approval as well.
Thank you. Any questions from the board?
So except for the change of the phrase, nothing's changed.
That's exactly right, yes, sir. No content of the ordinance, is literally just changing one word out for another word.
Okay. All right. Thanks, sir.
All right. Call to order a public hearing on this matter. If you have anything to comment on this, please step forward, give your name and address. Then no one move, we'll close the public hearing. Pleasure of the board.
Make a motion, we approve the text amendment change.
Second.
All right, Commissioner Miller?
Aye.
Mr. Pringle?
Aye.
Commissioner
Aye.
Johnson, yes.
Thank you.
Public comment, proposal 2021-2022 capital improvement plan. Alderman Stewart.
He was just about to hog the spotlight, wasn't he?
Yeah.
He can do this if he wants to. So good evening, Chairman Johnson, Commissioners. I'm here tonight to speak about the recommended CIP and give the public a little bit of information on it before we open up for public comment. So the CIP, or Capital Improvements Program, is a long-term plan for funding the county's major capital needs. It shows how facilities, equipment, and other projects costing $100,000 or more could be scheduled and funded over the next 7 years, beginning in fiscal year 2022. A link to the CIP can be found on the county's website under Harnett Happenings on the left of the main page. So I want to go back and review for you and the public the timeline that we've gone through for the CIP. And I want to make it clear that the CIP originates at the department level. It's not that staff comes up, our department does not come up with the list of CIPs. They originate at the department or the agency level. So on August 17th, new project notification forms were submitted from departments. On September 25th, all forms for CIP projects were received from departments. And that was for the ones that were already on there. They had to give a status report, or if it was for a future project they were trying to have funded, they had to turn in a form to talk about that. And also this year, our budget staff provided support to Harnett County Schools and Central Carolina Community College, which were new to the county's CIP process this year. In the month of October, we spent in-depth meetings were with our staff, the budget staff, and the stakeholders, all the people that submitted projects. So last week at your work session on November 10th, the recommended CIP was presented, and then we published it online. So tonight we are seeking public input on the proposed CIP to help the board make final decisions on the funded projects. So after tonight, after we get the public comment, at least one work session will be held for discussion on projects soon after the newly elected board members take office. The board will adopt a CIP for the fiscal year 2022 through 2028 prior to the fiscal year 2022 operating budget kickoff, which is scheduled for February 8th, 2021. Soon after early 2021, we hope to schedule a joint work session between the Board of Education and the Harnett County Board of Commissioners to address the school needs, since that's such a big topic and such a substantial need. I'd like to thank the county departments that submitted their applications: Harnett County Schools, CCCC, Renee Pascal and Lisa McFadden, who is our budget team, Kimberly Honeycutt in finance, Brian Haney and Coley Price for the time and attention that was given on the CIP process. And so, Chairman Johnson, at this time I'd like to request that you call for public comments. Thank you. And I'm available for any questions. And it was in your packet, the whole presentation. So.
Question from the board? At this time, I'd like to open the floor for any public comment. If you have a comment, please step up, give your name and address. Seeing no movement, close the floor for public comment.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
And then I've got the next item, so I'll just stay up here if that's okay with you. At first, I need to refer to Lindsay Lucas, our deputy clerk. We did have one public comment that came in via email, so she needs to read that for y'all if you'll permit us to do so now.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, this is from Rebecca Forbes. I wish I had known as a self-employed small farm business owner in Harnett County that there was a grant we could apply for. Out of work since the end of March, received a measly $1,800 from the federal program for my small business that helped early on, but now, 8 months later, I will not be able to attend the meeting tonight I received word of, but disagree with allotting any of those funds to Duke Progress programs and would prefer to know more about eligibility and extending time to apply for the grant. Sincerely, Rebecca Forbes.
Thank you.
Thank you. And the only thing I have is the COVID update from today, and it was emailed to you earlier. So the Harnett County cases as of today are 3,397, and the deaths reported are 77. And I would just like to take a couple minutes and thank the outgoing commissioners for working with me, for, number one, hiring me for this position in 2018. I appreciate the confidence you bestowed in me. I consider Commissioner Miller, Commissioner Springle friends now. We've gone through some differences. We've worked things out, and I just feel like both of you have got a heart for public service, and you've made the county a better place to be. So I just wanted to publicly thank you for hiring me, for allowing me to do some hard things. The county's come a long way. I think we've put a lot of processes in place that you should be proud of during your tenure. So again, I just wanted to thank you, and I look forward to working with Commissioner Matthews and the commissioners-elect that are in the audience. So thank you again.
Thank you.
Thank you, Paul. All right, any new business? All right, hearing none, do we have a reason for closed session?
No, Mr. Chairman, no closed session tonight.
Okay. Good.
Go for it.
All right, do we have a motion to?
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion that we adjourn.
Second.
Do I hear a second on that?
Second.
Somebody vote on it.
My last one.
Let y'all do the last one.
You'd like to vote?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, we are adjourned.
Aye, 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 aye.
Aye, aye, aye.